My name is Rashielle, and on behalf of theLEDGE Media, I'm doing a special takeover edition today of your weekly briefing for what's hot in climate change. Now, since I'm actually reporting to you guys from sunny South Florida, I thought we'd get started there. Number one in climate change news today, Miami is really, really hot. I realize that doesn't really sound like breaking news since Miami is known to be pretty warm, but we're talking a little bit more than your typical beach weather since last month in July, Miami was recorded as having its hottest month ever. Not just its hottest July, its hottest actual month ever recorded. That's pretty hot. So the actual temperature combined with this really awful humidity that we are known to deal with sent the heat index so high on some days that we had to issue rare heat advisories so that people would be careful not to be overheated when they were outside. Now I can tell you guys from first-hand experience living in Miami that I personally cannot stand outside for literally 2 seconds without breaking into a sweat. Since we're talking about my hometown of Miami, that brings me to topic number 2, which is that when it's not unbearably hot and blazingly sunny in Miami, we're probably dealing with torrential downpours of rain. This past week on Tuesday, we had Tropical Depression Emily give us a lovely visit, and things got pretty wet. So we're talking about 4 to 7 inches of constant rain that day, which was kind of like a fun way of testing out our new anti-flooding system that we spent recently about hundreds of millions of dollars on, and it still wasn't enough. Certain portions of South Beach were basically totally submerged underwater, including buildings and cars, and we had to deal with some power outage issues as well. But Miami people have nothing if not a sense of humor about the situation, so we got things like this. So we are used to getting stories like this in Miami, but unfortunately this was probably an indication of how not really prepared we are to deal with flooding issues that are likely to come with rising sea levels and worse hurricane seasons. Miami is pretty much like ground zero as far as dealing with the consequences of climate change, so while a lot of people out there think that it's not really going to affect us until way into the future, we're already kind of dealing with it here. Although, this might be a good idea to start thinking about gondola rides and water taxis as a potential business idea for South Beach. You know who knew this was going to happen? Al Gore. Which brings me to number 3, which is that the Inconvenient sequel documentary finally comes out in movie theaters nationwide today, so I encourage everyone to go out and check it out. The movie is a follow-up to An Inconvenient Truth, which came out in 2006 and had a huge impact on the climate change conversation and got really a lot of people talking about it. Low-key, this movie might be a huge I told you so message from Al Gore, since the film did predict a lot of the issues that we're facing and have faced in the time in between. The film is a good way of kickstarting a climate change conversation if you sometimes have trouble explaining some of the issues to people, so grab your popcorn, grab your friends, go see the movie. Number 4 for today is a little something called Earth Overshoot Day. According to the Global Footprint Network, August 2nd marked the day that we humans have officially consumed more natural resources than the Earth is capable of producing for the entire year. So you can think about it this way. For the rest of the year, we will be using natural resources that cannot be replenished or renewed this year, so it's kind of like we're borrowing them from future generations. Earth Overshoot Day illustrates how wildly disproportional our consumption is in relation to the natural resources that our Earth actually has available for us. And as the human population grows, the Earth is struggling to keep up. So, I mean, we pretty much already know this, but we're basically at a crossroads here where we have to, and we have no choice, but to come up with effective and creative solutions for reducing the amount of natural resources that we're using. Speaking of solutions, that brings us to number 5, which is that Tesla recently hosted a huge hands-off party where they celebrated handing over the keys to their first 30 Tesla Model 3s. Since their cool kickoff party, Tesla is actually averaging about 1,800 reservations every day for the Model 3, which is really cool because this is their first mass market electric vehicle, which means that we'll be seeing a lot more sustainability on the road. If you ever wonder what we mean by making sustainability sexy, take a look at the car. I can't wait to see more of those on the road. Well guys, that's a wrap, and I hope that you enjoyed my takeover for the What's Hot in Climate Change news briefing today. Big shout out to Phoebe and Bear Change for having me. You guys can follow us at theLEDGE for more news on climate change and creative solutions.